National Cohesion and Peace Building, to establish the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, and for connected purposes. Order number 10, order number 11, the treaty making and ratification amendment number 2 bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Treaty Making and Ratification Act and for connected purposes.
Yes, Honorable Kaitani, have you called out number 11 as well? Yes, Kaitani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is on order number 13. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the Standing Order 44-2D, I wish to make a statement on the status of the consideration of the County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2022, by the committee. Honorable Speaker, the County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2022 is a bill sponsored by Senator Omar Mariam Sheikh, MP, and the bill seeks to provide for a national legislative framework for uniform procedures for the licensing of various activities by the county governments. Honorable Speaker, Standing Order number 127.4 requires that the chairperson of the committee to report to the House within 30 days on its consideration of a bill committed to it. The bill was read for the first time in the National Assembly on 28th of February 2024 and committed to the Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. The 30 days with respect to the bill are due to lapse on the 30th of March 2024, which will be during the recess period. Honorable Speaker, I wish to report that pursuant to the Standing Order number 127.5, the committee has already conducted public participation in accordance with Article 118(1)(b) of the Constitution as read with the Standing Order 127.3 and 3A of the National Assembly. However, a number of sector institutions have not yet presented their views. Additionally, serious issues of concern were raised during the stakeholder engagements on the bill, hence requiring further deliberations. To this end, the committee resolved to have the bill undergo extensive public participation through public hearings. Honorable Speaker, I seek your indulgence. Honorable Speaker, I seek your indulgence for the House Business Committees to stand down the business from the order paper in order to allow the committee to conclude conducting public hearings and table its report. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kaitani. So that we step down order number 13 to either tomorrow or a later date. You can go to the table office and confirm your readiness. We have a sitting tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. So whichever timing you'll be ready, we'll accommodate you. Honorable members, we'll now go to questions. Welcome to the House, the Honorable CS for Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 questions listed for you to answer this afternoon. I have been requested, the Honorable Majority Leader, by the Honorable Daoud, that I allow him to ask the third question so that he can proceed to his religious obligations, being the month of Ramadan. And I've acceded to that request. Honorable Daoud, go ahead and ask question 0542024.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to ask my question first. Honorable Speaker, I wish to ask question number 054 of 2024 to the Cabinet Secretary for Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports. Could the Cabinet Secretary, 1, provide the timeline for the release of shillings 42 million committed by Sports Kenya on 13th December 2017 for the partial construction of Meru Divisional County offices, which included the Assistant County Commissioner's Municipality Office Block, Ntima Chief's Office, 3 administration, police officers' houses, canteen, and a public toilet adjacent to Kinoru Stadium. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, is clarify whether the amount committed by Sports Kenya on behalf of the Ministry for the construction of the above-mentioned facilities can be redirected to NGCDF, Northern constituency, for the construction of the same. Number 3, Honorable Speaker, is consider reallocating the current space occupied by NGCDF Youth Center to the NGCDF Northern or to the Ministry of Interior so as to enable the public to make use of the space with a separate gate and boundary wall to distinguish the area from Kinoru Stadium. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Daud, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity, and to thank the House for according us the opportunity to come and interact with the honorable members on issues of relevance. And Honorable Speaker, without wasting any time, let me go straight to question number 3, question number 054 of 2024. In response to that question, let me inform the Honorable House that it is true that in 2017, Sports Kenya did make a commitment to assist in the partial construction of the Meru Divisional County offices planned to be situated near the Kinoru Stadium. However, we wish to inform the Honorable Member that this commitment was made without a confirmation of funding, as really is the requirement. That is what the law says, that before you commit to any project, there should be availability of resources for the project. But in this case, there was no confirmation, and up to date, Sports Kenya has not received any financing from Treasury. And as will be amplified while responding to other questions that are part of this session. Honorable Speaker, when the Kenya Kwanza administration came into office, we inherited a huge pileup of stalled projects pretty much all over the country. And one way of dealing with that was for us to put in place a master plan to better manage that whole space of infrastructure for sports and the creatives. And I want to assure the Honorable Member and the Honorable House that moving forward, we have sealed that loophole of committing to do projects without the requisite provision of financing. And so that's the position. There's that commitment on record, but there's just no financing to match that commitment. In response to the second segment of that question, is that, again, there is no allocation in the budget. Sports Kenya does not have this money. And in fact, the ministry is exceedingly stretched currently with commitments to host the African Nations Championship, also known as CHAN, in September this year, and the Africa Cup of Nations in 2027. And so it's just so very difficult. Of course, if these resources were to be availed, if Treasury were to avail these resources as has been requested by Sports Kenya, then this project could be concluded. In response to the last, the third segment of the question, is that this is a matter that we would leave to the local leadership to build consensus on how how to use this space. If it is with regard to the Youth Empowerment Center, the ministry is already starting to roll out a program to transform all youth empowerment centers into innovation hubs. And so the honorable member may want to reflect a bit more whether this would be the best use of this space or whether we should proceed with the plans to utilize the youth empowerment centers for an innovation center. But if it is indeed a priority that the honorable member considers this particular use of this space to be the priority, then that can be, consensus can be built locally, and then the ministry would certainly consider that. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Daud?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm not satisfied with the answer the CS has given, because I talked to him earlier as well. Mr. Speaker, this issue I brought even in the last Parliament, and it is as if the Ministry of Sports just wants to avoid this issue, that there was no commitment. But there was a written commitment by Sports Kenya, and Sports Kenya are the ones who were doing Kinoru Stadium. So when they were doing Kinoru Stadium, they demolished a few offices, and they promised in the process of making the stadium, they will give me, because Kinoru Police Post is a gazetted police post. It's not just out of somewhere. It's been there in existence for long. And there was a meeting in July 2021 by the then Governor Kiraito Moronge and the Minister, then Ambassador Amina, together with the PS, where they agreed that the county government would provide land and the ministry would provide the funds. And Mr. Speaker, I'm not asking for funds if they cannot give it to CDF. I'm willing for them to construct for us the infrastructure which they promised. And we already have land from Kinoru Primary School, because the land which was being offered by the county government was where there was a sewage plant of the Ministry of Livestock. So that is not conducive. But we already have land. So I want the minister, while he is doing the stadium, because the stadium has still not been handed over, be part of the works of the Kinoru Stadium, because they have still not handed over the stadium, and works are still going on. Although the stadium in some places is being worn out, the running track is in a pathetic state at the moment, but that is not my concern for now. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, the youth center, I want to convert it into an ICT center. I do not have an issue with it. But when they were making the stadium, they specifically wanted to demolish the youth center, which I opposed. And I said, we cannot put government money, we cannot put it the way they wanted to do it. So what I've asked is, I'm not asking for a relocation of the youth center. I've asked for the land where the youth center is standing to be removed from the stadium land and be given to either the county commissioner, and I put a gate through CDF, and I do the youth center, the ICT hub. But talking to the other people, I do not think it will help me. The minister should be able to agree that it is not part of the stadium, so that then I can follow up the other process of getting that land in the name of the interior. So, Mr. Speaker, the minister, I do not think he can escape the commitment. The commitment was made, and we need the offices of the ACC, the chiefs, and the police post, and the accommodation units for the police. Mr. Speaker, he can put that money in the stadium, because it's part of the stadium. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, you've heard the discourse from the member.
Honorable Speaker, I have not made any attempt whatsoever to run away from the commitment. In fact, to my credit, I did confirm that indeed there is a commitment. There's a commitment. I just made a clarification that when this commitment was made in 2017, that is about 7 years now, the commitment was made without matching resource allocation. That's the position. We do acknowledge that this is an important project. In fact, Honorable Speaker, let me confirm to the House that it's the policy of the ministry that any space where there is a sports facility of this scale, of the scale of Kinoru Stadium, it should be serviced by a police post. It should have the capacity to house security within the ecosystem of the stadium. And so, yes, there is a commitment. And what I can assure the honorable member is that effort will be made to get the resources. There is also the challenge of the land. The county government had allocated some land for this purpose. And so there is also need for the honorable member to get into some consensus with the county government in terms of the actual location of this project. And as soon as resources become available, government is a going concern, even though this is a commitment by a previous administration. This administration inherits those commitments, and so there are commitments that should be carried forward. With regard to the Youth Empowerment Center, again, let me make it clear that this is a new administration, or this is a different administration with different priorities. This administration would certainly not support the initial or the earlier attempt to pull down this center. The approach we have taken for this kind of infrastructure is integration, composite development, where you can have a stadium, you can have facilities for the creatives, where young people can do music, they can do film, they can do ICT, they can do innovation, and therefore there is absolutely nothing wrong to have a stadium and to have recording studios and to have an innovation center, and we can have that whole ecosystem integrated. If I can hear the honorable member, he's saying the land on which this particular space stands should be excised and sort of delineated from the land of the stadium, and that is something that should be possible. The land actually belongs to the county government, and I believe if between ourselves as a ministry and the honorable member and the county government, that is a process which the ministry would certainly support. We wouldn't be averse to that, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. We'll leave it there, Daoud. We'll go to question 054 of 2024. Sorry. The first question, question 231 of 2023. The Honorable Duncan Mavenge, member for Nyeri Town.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to ask the Cabinet Secretary, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 42A 6B, to ask the Cabinet Secretary for Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports to explain the scope of the Ministry's policy stopping the construction of stadia across the country, and whether such policy meant suspension of completion of stadia whose construction had started. Number two, provide the status of the construction, including the expected date of completion of the Rulingo Stadium in Nyeri County, Nyeri Town constituency, the cost of the project, and the amount of money already spent thereof. Number three, state the reasons for the delay in the completion of the Rulingo Stadium, considering its upgrade was launched 6 years ago, and state the loss suffered by the local community as a result of the delay. And number four, outline measures that the government shall take into account so that in future, stadia are completed as scheduled and the funds allocated thereof are utilized prudently. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Madenga. Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's true that Ruringu Stadium in Nyeri is one of those projects that have taken inordinately long, unacceptably long to be completed. In fact, this stadium is among about 13 facilities scattered across the country, from Ruringu to Kamarin in Elgeyo Marakwet County, to Wote in Makueni, and many other places, projects which have gobbled approximately 10 billion Kenya shillings in actual expenditure, but which have not been completed to put to public use. Honorable Speaker, the situation of Ruringu and the other stadia that I mentioned in different parts of the country on institutional limitations, both as a ministry and our agencies like Sports Kenya, Kenya Academy of Sports. And I want to admit here that we do have limitations. Reason why we have made effort to be supported, to recruit extra staff to enhance our capacity. And one of the things I'll keep on reminding the House is support for the ministry and our institutions to be able to build our capacities in terms of hiring more technical officers. Now, with regard to this particular issue, to address this challenge, Honorable Speaker, we made a policy decision to freeze construction of these projects, to do a thorough assessment, and also to plan. And I'm very proud to report to this House that for the first time in the 60-year history of this country, we were able to develop a master plan on infrastructure for sports and the creatives. And I have actually provided a copy. Honorable Speaker, I have provided as my Annex A to this response. I have annexed a copy of this master plan. This master plan now answers questions as to what do we need to do, where do we need to do it, how do we need to do it, when do we need to do it, and at what cost. It lays a very clear plan. It also provides some metrics to determine why you choose one site over the other. For instance, let me give an example, Honorable Speaker. The other day, when deciding where to build the Talanta Stadium, which is going to be the center for hosting AFCON in 2027, we considered so many different venues. We considered Mombasa, we considered Nakuru, and other places. And because of the criteria we have set in this master plan, we were able to pick a site that ticks the necessary boxes on cost, on accessibility, and viability of the project. And therefore, Ruringu Stadium and many of these other stadia were victims of poor planning and poor execution of implementation of these projects. And I can confirm to the honorable member that the policy to stop construction of new stadia was merely to allow the ministry to conduct a thorough assessment to determine the state of infrastructure across the country, which we have since concluded, and now we have this master plan. That also allowed us time to call in the Auditor General And I'm pleased again to notify this House that I personally delivered a request to the Auditor General to come in to look at some of these troubled spaces to help us determine what the problem was. And again, the Auditor General has completed that process and has delivered a report to this House, which is being considered by this House, and we are also looking at it from our end. But work is now going on in various spaces which we had stopped because we have finished that assessment, we have finished the audit, we have determined how we should move forward. So work is already going on in some of these places. Now, with regard to the second limb of the question, to provide the status of Ruringu Stadium, between 2017, when this project was initiated, this project was initiated at a contract sum of 365,735.30. That is the contract sum that was awarded in 2017, some seven years ago. It was supposed to have a 4,000-seater pavilion, main pavilion, a FIFA standard football field, a borehole, and associated water storage facilities, electrical and mechanical works, 8-lane track done to actually international standard, because we envisage that this should be a stadium that can host some of the events that Kenya hosts. It was supposed to have a VIP lift. That scope was priced at that 365 million shillings. To date, the records indicate that 307 million has already been paid to this contractor, leaving a sum of 58,190,000 to completion. 58,190,740.13 to completion. The status is that this project is still in that first phase, because it was planned that this project would be phased. The first phase would be done with those elements that I have indicated, and then the project would be further developed upon conclusion of that. But we are still at that first phase. It commenced on January 5th, 2017, and the initial target was to complete it by June 30th. This is an initial target which, even in our master plan, we had envisaged that we should be able to complete this project by June 2024. That is the current status. Now, the reasons for the delay in completion of Ruringu Stadium, considering the period of time that it has taken, and Honorable Speaker, I have admitted to this House the reason why we came to office and stopped any further work in this space and took time to develop a master plan, the first master plan in the history of this country. It will go down in the history of this country that the Kenya Kwanza administration developed the first ever master plan for sports and creatives infrastructure for this country. We were doing that to correct the challenges that have brought us where we are. Challenges of Ruringu, challenges of Wote, challenges of Kamarin, challenges of many other projects which were started and just never saw the light of day in terms of completion. And as I have admitted, there are challenges of resources, not matching commitment with the resources. So you have a project going on, and then you run into the headwinds of having resources to complete the project. Challenges with the tendering, where you can see that a contractor is being entrusted with a project they have no capacity to undertake. Obviously, you engage a contractor and you can see this one cannot do this project. And so, because of all those factors, Ruringu has suffered the fate of delays. We have taken time, Honorable Speaker, to consider what to do with this project. We have looked at the option of terminating this contract. And Honorable Speaker, I have visited this stadium myself. We have considered the option, do we terminate? We have made a costing of termination, and it has been determined that terminating this contract and retendering it at the current market value of services and goods would cost the taxpayer an extra 235 million shillings, as based on the current market rates. We are also considering, should we terminate and hand this project to the National Youth Service so that we do an intra-government arrangement to hand it to the NYS to complete this project. Those are the options we are looking at, Honorable Speaker, but there is a firm commitment to conclude this historic stadium because it certainly has taken way too long to complete. Let me conclude. The final limb of that question is to outline measures the government shall take into account so that in future, stadia are completed as scheduled and funds allocated are utilized prudently. That is what I have already said like 5 times already, that now we have a master plan and we have instituted an arrangement where a project cannot take off without matching that project with availability of funds. And we have entered a new era also. It's a new administration, a new style of doing things, a new policy frame, you can say a new sheriff in town with a new style of administration. We have also made sure that before we entrust any contractor with a project of this kind, we do proper assessment so that we determine the capacity of a contractor to deliver. Because Ruringo has suffered because of the capacity of the contractor. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Ruku? No, hold Ruku. Madenge, you have a supplementary.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Indeed, I want to confirm that the minister did visit Ruringo on the 29th of August 2023. However, Honorable Speaker, the status of Ruringo today is such that everything except the small part of the pavilion and the borehole, everything about Ruringo will have to be redone. The artificial turf is already peeling off. It cannot be used for athletics. The glass in the football pitch is completely overgrown with the Kikuyu grass. And the fact of the matter is that that contractor that they claim, that the ministry claims has no capacity, is still their favored contractor. The contractor is still in possession of the site. So this 235 million will still have to be spent if Ruringo is to be put to the expected standard. The ministry has a peculiar costly relationship with this contractor. In fact, for all the reasons that they blame the contractor, they see the ministry for the last 1.5 years has enjoyed the same relationship that the contractor had with the previous dispensation. Sports Kenya, which was in charge of overseeing the project, is still intact. There have been no changes. How can we keep doing the same way, the things the same way, and expect a different result? Honorable Speaker, on terms of prudence, the ministry went ahead and has retained.
Ask questions, Madenge.
The private consultant who is retained for Ruringo. When is he going to be removed? Because the Ministry of Public Works has the capacity to supervise this stadium. And Honorable Speaker, I want the minister to look at the people of the Central Kenya region in the face today on TV and tell them, because Ruringo is the regional stadium, Nyeri is the regional headquarters. When is this stadium going to be completed? Alternatively, let us be told that this so-called master plan has actually decided to disenfranchise the people of the Mount Kenya, the sporting fraternity in the Mount Kenya region. Why has the stadium for the region not been given preference as the other regions have had their stadiums completed?
Minister, Madenga is unhappy with you maintaining the private consultant and the failed contractor. That is the question is raising.
Honorable Speaker, I can confirm to this House that there are no favored contractors. I have no personal knowledge of this contractor. I can confirm nothing personal. In fact, when this contractor was being hired in December 2016, January 2017, Honorable Speaker, I was an honorable member of this House. I was sitting in this House at that time. I was not on the scene when this contractor was being engaged. The current Director General of Sports Kenya, the mother agency responsible, was not even hired as the Director General then. The contractor was picked by a different minister, a different Director General. There is absolutely no relationship between this particular contractor and any of us in the leadership of this ministry. And so I want to confirm to this House that there is absolutely, to borrow the flowery language of the Honorable Member for Nyeri, there is no peculiar cozy relationship between us and this particular contractor, or any relationship at all, other than the relationship of someone who owes the people of Kenya the obligation to complete this project and complete it well. Honorable Speaker, let me also look the people of Mount Kenya region and the people of Kenya straight in the eye and tell them Ruringu Stadium shall be completed. Ruringu Stadium is an important facility. And the people of Nyeri, the people of Mount Kenya region, like the people of Kenya, other parts of this country, they deserve to have this project completed. And it certainly has been a disservice. Indeed, I can dare add that we owe the people of Nyeri, the people of Mount Kenya region, the people of Kenya, who all have a right to use this facility, we owe them an apology. That this project, alongside other projects which I have mentioned, like water, like Kamarin, we owe an apology of how we did not carry out that work effectively. And I say we, because government inherits everything. Government inherits the good, government inherits the bad. So this is the bad that we inherited as an administration, but we have a responsibility to correct it. And I can confirm to the honorable member and to the people of Nyeri that we will fix this bad that we inherited. I want to make a commitment that some of the issues the honorable member has raised here have a lot of truth in them. There is an issue of incapacity in some of our institutions, and I have admitted that. I have admitted that our institution, like Sports Kenya, for instance, could do with resident architects, resident engineers, resident technical people. And that is why I will still insist that resources should be availed for institutions like Sports Kenya to build their capacity by bringing in the requisite technical competencies. It will really help to forestall challenges such as this. I also agree that it is not necessary to have consultants. It's not necessary to have consultants, and I can give my confirmation to this House, Honorable Speaker, that this is a matter we will revisit so that we have a framework that can better serve the interests of the people. But bottom line, we must complete Ruringu. And let me give a commitment to the honorable member and this House that I'm going to be hands-on personally on this one. And if you look at some of the projects that we have taken on since we came to office, a project like Moi Stadium, Embu, we did it in 5 weeks. A stadium like Kericho Green Stadium, we did it in about 3 months. A stadium like Kasarani Stadium, we are refurbishing it in 12 months. A stadium like the Talanta Stadium that will host the Africa Cup of Nations in 2027, we are doing it in a record 24 months. So you can see the difference of the Kenya Kwanza performance. side by side with the mess that we inherited as an administration. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Ruku. Honorable Ruku.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask a supplementary question. After listening to the Minister or Cabinet Secretary, there's some questions which have come in my mind regarding the World Rally Championship, which was in Naivasha. Can the Minister confirm all the claims, all the dues have been paid as far as World Rally Championship is concerned? Because it may risk Kenya not able to participate in such an event or even host such an event, which was very good in marketing our country as one of the premium touristic destinations in the world. Can the Minister confirm all the dues have been paid? And if not, when is going to happen? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
We'll take Mheshimiwa Mandazi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Chepalungu.
Quite well, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the CS that there was a directive by the head of state that the stadium that was done by county government of Bomet between the year 2012 and 2017 that was abandoned, that the ministry takes up and completes it. I am aware that the CS actually made a visit to the site, and I would like to ask him on the findings and whether the same project can continue to completion and can be realized anytime soon. And if not, Mr. Speaker, I would like to hear from the CS.
You're a joyrider. One question. One question.
Okay, okay, Speaker.
Yes. Jane Kiara, joyriders, one question. Give Honorable Kihara the mic.
Mr. Speaker, mine is not a question, it's just to appreciate. That is where I ran. That Rurengo is a stadium. I remember it.
You are out of order. And this is question time. Ferdinand Wanyonyi, I come to you. You can go and appreciate the minister in his office.
You're making me laugh. Can the minister tell me, because we know that we are going to have the African Cup of Nations in 2027, and yet we're also having general election in this country. So do you think there's going to be a conflict in terms of arrangements? I'm a bit uneasy on the whole thing. Please, can you tell us what you're going to do, given that two events which are very, very important for this country?
What did you say, Ferdinand? I didn't even hear you.
Said, we're having the African Cup of Nations. We are hosting African Cup of Nations 2027.
Correct.
And yet, we're also having the general election 2027. And do you think there's going to be a conflict? And, you know, just how prepared can we could, yeah.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I appreciate
those series of small questions and answer them in
the response by the Minister on Ruringo. And I want to ask the Minister, I am certain he has seen the recent report by the Auditor General, Nancy Kadhungo, on the inflated costs of all these stadia, including Wanguru Stadium, Kirigiti in Kiambu, and definitely this Ruringo, upon completion, is a likely candidate of that inflated or escalation of costs. I would particularly want to hear what is it that the Ministry and Sports Study are doing to ensure that there will be no inflation of costs. Because as the Minister of ours, it's actually true. I was with him here in the 11th Parliament when that particular contract was awarded. And I, in fact, participated in the groundbreaking ceremony by our former President Uhuru Kenyatta in Ruringo in the run-up to the 2017 elections. But it's almost 10 years after the award of that contract. What guarantees is the minister giving that under his watch that there will be no inflation then of costs way beyond what was envisaged then and beyond what would be the normal escalation of costs of steel and cement probably, because I don't think the cost of grass, the Kikuyu grass, the member for Nyeri Town is speaking about, has changed. But of course, there is the normal escalation of costs on steel and cement. But will that also see us justifying, or the ministry justifying, a very huge escalation in costs? And therefore, I want to really hear what is it that the ministry is doing to ensure that one, Ruringo Stadium and all the other stadia are completed within a reasonable timeline and within reasonable costs. Because, Honorable Speaker, you know, when projects like this take 10, 15 years, then at the end of it all, we will hear the stadia was to cost maybe 600 million, is now costing 2 billion shillings. And it is that I would want to hear what the minister and the ministry are doing to ensure that we check that we do not end up with such a report. Because the Auditor General has reported on the ones that are completed or partially completed, like Kirigiti, Wanguru, and the others. Are we going to hear when the Auditor General reviews this particular one in Ruringo that it was also escalated costs twice or triple what was envisaged? Thank you.
Didaraso.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the CS one very specific question on Marsabit. Marsabit was built by both the county government and the Sports Kenya. One side of the stadium is complete, the other side is still lagging behind. So who really takes responsibility if such projects are unfinished? And also, you have closed the spaces for the youngsters and for the community of Marsabit town. So how long such projects are likely to take? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Oyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the CS whether he's aware that Busia County has no stadium at all, and what arrangements has he in place?
Has no good stadium or has no stadium?
Has no stadium, not even a bad one. And what arrangement has he to ensure that we in Busia, we also get a stadium? Thank you.
Member for Kericho.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to first maybe remind the CS.
Minister, all these are deviations from the original question, but there are small questions which you can answer. Go on.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to be what you normally call us the joyriders.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe first is to remind the minister that when he came to Kericho, he renamed the stadium as Kiprukut Chuma Stadium, so it is no longer Kericho. And you've actually mentioned that the stadium was done in 3 months. It is true, but there are some issues that have not been sorted. The gates have not been conclusively done. Beautification outside has not been done. Lanes are not well done. So what plans do you have to make sure that the stadium is done to the international standard? Thank you.
Adagala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for putting me in line with the joyriders too. But my question should be taken with the seriousness it takes, because I want to ask the CS Sports, what measures is he going to take, or is taking, or what has he done? In Vihiga County, we have something similar to grounds, that is Hamisi Sports Ground, Kidundu, and Mumboha. And Vihiga being a home of champions of rugby and basketball players and football, what arrangements is he making to ensure those stadiums can function and work so that Vihiga can feel we are part of this Kenya Kwanza government? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the CS. As a member of Sports Committee, we budgeted for sports academies, and I don't know where we are with that because nothing has started yet. Thank you.
Can we, okay, last member for MHIA. Then, Minister, you can answer those short questions.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to ask this, the CS that it is believed he is putting round pegs in squared holes. That in 2027, when we shall be hosting the CAF, he is not preparing Buhungu Stadium, which is the home of football and footballers, but is preparing a different stadium which is known for athletics. I want him to tell this House and Kenyans what he's doing to make sure that the home of football is prepared for football in 2027. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I will take one by one pretty fast, starting from the first on the WLC Safari Rally. And Honorable Speaker, it is true that the WLC Safari Rally had quite a pile-up of debts. In fact, I'm very proud to report to this House that this is one of the spaces we have been able to streamline. When this rally was hosted in 2022, for instance, before we came to office, it cost the taxpayer about 2.8 billion shillings. Last year, we were able to halve that and do it at half that budget. This year, even with the economic realities, we have been able to lower it even further. And so we have done very well to get a grip of a space which we believe was not managed very well. And I want to assure this House that there is no chance of Kenya losing the WRC Safari Rally. We are in a very good space with the promoter. We are in a very good space with the FIA, the International Motorsport Federation. And we are also in a very good space in streamlining that whole operation of the rally. The debts which we inherited, we have referred them to a special verification, and that verification process is going on. As soon as that verification is completed so that we know which ones are genuine, which ones should be paid, then they certainly will be settled. And we will plead for some more indulgence for that verification to be concluded. Bomet Stadium in Bomet County Stadium, yes, I have visited this stadium. Again, it is one of those stadia that were not very well conceived. When you look at, Honorable Speaker, if I refer the Honorable Member to page 16 of the master plan, which I have referred to quite a lot, you will see that Bomet Stadium is listed under what we are calling completion of ongoing regional stadia. And so even though this was a project of the county government, we have taken it up, and it is part of the plans we have to complete it. But there are serious integrity issues there. We have done some initial tests, and we believe that some of the structures that were done by the county government may actually need to be pulled down as part of the completion of this project. The other question from the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi on AFCON and the general elections, we believe that there shouldn't really be overly much concern. Actually, we see the general elections and the football fever complementing pretty good. And Kenyans, I believe, will immensely enjoy the Africa Cup of Nations even as we gear to the general elections. We don't anticipate any problem at all, unless the honorable member knows something that we don't, and we'll be happy to listen to.
Under the fear of the unknown. Just go.
Honorable Speaker, we all occasionally suffer from the fear of the unknown. Honorable Adagala has also mentioned Hamisi, Kidundu, Mumboha, and I can also assure the honorable member for Vihiga that Kidundu Stadium is also in the master plan. If you look at page 16, you will see under support for new regional stadia, Kidundu is listed as a project. So that is already considered. But we have also been in talks with the leadership of Vihiga, including the governor, just to determine what would be the best place in Vihiga County for a regional stadia in that county. But in the meantime, Kidundu is listed in the master plan. On the question regarding Kiprugut Stadium, Kiprugut Chumo Stadium, it is true that we have formally, in an official ceremony, renamed that stadium in honor of Kenya's first ever Olympics medal winner, the late Kiprugut Arap Chumo. That is the new name. And we are aware that there are a few elements that need to be completed, something that Sports Kenya is seized of for completion. Honorable Yula mentioned the Busia County Stadium, and I'm pleased to inform the honorable member, honorable speaker, that this particular county actually has no stadium, as the honorable member has indicated. The remnants of the stadium that was there was a victim of the public protests, which went away with the remnants of Busia Stadium. And so Busia no longer has a stadium, but we have advertised this project, and expression of interest is ongoing for construction of a new stadium in Busia County. That process is nearing the tail end, the expression of interest. The sports academies, there's a question, a latter question here, Honorable Speaker, on which we had provided some information on academies. I can skip it for now, and I'll answer it at that point, because we have provided details on the question of academies. The Honorable Dida Rasu has mentioned Marsabit, and again, Marsabit is in our master plan. And you have correctly noted, Honorable Rasu Yakwamba, that one bit of the project is completed. That is the bit that was done by the ministry through Sports Kenya. That bit is completed. And I did visit, and I confirmed that. I physically visited Marsabit to confirm that. The bit the county government did is incomplete. And we had some serious concerns about the integrity of that structure. I'm pleased to report to this House that we have done integrity tests, and those tests are now we have a report we did commission just to determine whether that structure could withstand completion. The test results are being analyzed now. As soon as that is completed, we'll proceed to complete as indicated in the master plan. There was a question from the Honorable Member for Mhaya on Buhungu Stadium, and I couldn't agree more with the Honorable Member for Mhaya that this region, the Murembe land, is a hotbed of talents. Buhungu itself is like a shrine of football, and certainly deserves to be given attention. And I'm pleased again to report to this Honorable House, Honorable Speaker, that I was personally at Buhungu a month ago to do groundbreaking for the completion of Buhungu Stadium. We have entered into partnership with the county government to help the county government as national government to complete the bit that is remaining. So work is going on Buhungu, and we have every determination to complete Buhungu. While that is going on, We have also done groundbreaking for Masinde Muliro Stadium, Kandui in Bungoma County, which is also on track. In fact, that will be the host of Madaraka Day this year, and we are racing against time to complete it in time to be able not only to host Madaraka Day, but also to be available to support the sporting ecosystem in Bungoma County and the rest of that region. Finally, Honorable Speaker, the question from the Majority Leader. The Honorable Majority Leader asked a fundamental question, the question of cost, the question of escalation of project cost. And I'm happy to report to this Honorable House that the audit report that the Honorable Majority Leader refers to is actually the result of our own request. It was myself who wrote to the Auditor General to invite the Office of the Auditor General to look at these projects in the process of developing our master plan to help us to avoid pitfalls that have afflicted this sector for so many years. And we are so keen, because this is our audit, as it were, if I could call it that. It is our audit, we asked for it. And so the results are very important for us. And we are very keen to deal with this hydra-headed monster of overpricing projects, because it is real. You look at a lot of these projects and they are really, you don't see value for money. And so we are being very keen to deal with that issue. And one of those things, one of the measures we have taken, Honorable Speaker, is to do prototypes, so that if we want to develop regional stadia, for instance, we do a prototype. We cost that prototype. And so for every actual project, we measure it against our prototype. The academies, for instance, someone had given a cost of about 400 million shillings per academy. We did our own prototype that indicates you can do these academies for not more than 50 million shillings. Many times less than what was projected. And so I can assure this House, the Majority Leader, that we are on top of this to keep budgets in check and deliver value for money to the taxpayer. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Martin Owino, question 053 of 2024.
Speaker, the opportunity is appreciated. I rise to ask question 53 to the CS Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports. 1. Could the CS outline the measures taken by the Ministry in promoting sports development and nurturing talents in communities, particularly in rural areas where there is abundance of talent? 2. Could the CS consider establishing a sports center or academies in their constituency with the aim of empowering and fostering economic growth among the youth? 3, could the CS clarify whether there are plans to monetize sports nationwide using other means apart from the recently launched Talenta Hela, which is predominantly in the urban areas? Lastly, very important, could the CS explain how the Ministry intends to roll out the Talenta Hela initiative, and can the CS provide assurance that the initiative will not lead to unsustainable economic burdens on the beneficiaries once concluded? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me bring to the attention of the Honorable Member for Ndiwa and the House generally that I've made some annexures to my responses. And so some of the issues that have been raised here are also, the information is provided in the annexures. Let me particularly refer to Annexure B that talks to the work we are doing in the space of innovation. And because that is part of our Talenta Hela initiative, and part of promoting youth creativity and entrepreneurship. I also have Annex C, which provides youth training camps nationally. We are rolling out 45 athletics training centers in different parts of the country. That is provided as Annex C. That is in addition to Annex A, which is the master plan. Now, back to this question. We are very proud of the measures we have taken as a ministry and as a government to raise the profile of identifying, nurturing, and monetizing talents in this country. We came to office at a time when this space really had no form. The whole sporting arena was very troubled, so trouble all over the place. There was no notable structure, no notable initiative on how to deal with the question of developing the talents of young people in this country and turning them into livelihoods, or pesa mfukoni as we call it. Things like football were in shambles. Football was actually suspended at the time we came to office. Doping had run amok, and Kenya was just on the verge of being banned by World Athletics. Sports infrastructure, as we have demonstrated here, was in shambles all over the place. It was even unthinkable that Kenya could host AFCON. It's actually amazing that today we are talking about hosting AFCON. At the time the Kenya Kwanza administration came to office, Kenya did not even have a stadium to host an international game, not even a friendly game. Today we are now talking about hosting international events. And so we are very happy that we've been able to put in place the Talanta Hela initiative that has been able to provide a framework of how to identify talents countrywide, nurture those talents, monetize those talents. The football program, for instance, which ran last year, it was a nationwide program that resulted in finals, which His Excellency the President graced at Nyayo Stadium, with the winning teams receiving significant prize money for that process. The girls had Busia as winners, Kisumu position 3, Homa Bay position 3, 5 million shillings, 3 million shillings for runners-up, 2 million shillings for number 3, Uasin Gishu, number 4, receiving 1 million shillings, and that was the same thing for boys. We also rewarded regional winners. Everybody who participated in this and emerged a winner in their respective regions was also duly rewarded. And I'm very happy that today we've been able, under the Kenya Academy of Sports, to develop a national talent pool. Today you want an under 15 team, we have it. Under 17, under 18, under 19, under 20, those teams are available anytime. We saw the performance of our under 18 team in Sekafa. A lot of those young people were from this talent pool. Tomorrow, actually today, this evening, our national under 20 team will be departing for Malawi to participate in the Four Nations tournament. A lot of those youngsters are from this pool. On Friday, our under 19 team, both boys and girls, will go in for special training camp in Spain. Again, those are products of this pool. This year, Kenya, for the first time, is entering all World Cup qualifiers for youth teams. And that is because of this pool we've been able to create under this talent progression. So I believe we are in a good space. We have created spaces, as I've said. We are rolling out 45 athletic centers countrywide. We are rolling out academies, which I will come to. And all this is intended to provide an ecosystem for identifying, nurturing, and monetizing these talents in a very, very deliberate manner. We are also funneling them outside the country. Today, you go to the Nastic Soccer Academy in Spain. You meet boys like Aldrin Kibet, Amos Wanjala, Alvin Kasavuli, products of this ecosystem who have ended up in an elite football ecosystem in Spain. Louis Ingavi at Montverde Academy in Orlando, Florida, is a product of this pipeline. So we are happy that we have a pipeline that is actually producing. The second question, which is about establishing a sports center, or academy in Ndiwa. Again, I'm pleased to report here that we have developed a framework on developing academies. The ultimate aim of this framework is to provide academies countrywide so that every constituency ultimately should have an academy. We have provided on page 12 of my responses a list of the initial constituencies. We did a survey countrywide, and on page 12 to 13, you'll find a list of constituencies that are going to be the ignition, the first wave, and we'll be doing these in waves purely because of resources. And so the question that was asked earlier about academies, that yes, we have already done the framework and we are preparing to start rolling them out. We took a bit of time to do the prototype, and when we did the prototype, we were able to reduce the cost of these academies from the initial projected cost of about 400 million shillings to 50 million per academy by just making sure that we live within budgetary limits and we do projects that deliver value for money. So that is a project that is going to roll out. And so Ndiwa will ultimately be covered in that framework of the constituency academies. On the question of
Move a little faster, Minister.
Yes, clarifying whether there are plans to monetize sports talents. Yes, we are, besides the Talanta Hela initiative, we are getting into some very solid partnerships to widen opportunities available. We have signed a deal with the NBA, for instance. I was in New York with His Excellency the President last year to sign a deal with NBA to develop basketball right from the school's ecosystem. And that is an opportunity for our young people. We have signed a deal with Invention Studios of Hollywood to promote the film industry. We have signed a deal with the Grammys to promote music. And so we have expanded that space. We have brought in the corporate sector. We have put in place, again for the first time ever, an incentives framework to encourage corporates to put money in this space. And we now have a system with the Treasury for tax rebates. For every shilling you put in, you get a certain tax break under that framework to expand that space. And so I believe that that is a matter that is very much on track. How the ministry intends to roll out the Talanta Hela initiative. This initiative is already up and running. We launched it last year. It was already rolling. This year, it is going to be much broader, and the plan now is to involve other sporting disciplines and bring in creatives like music, film, theater, and other segments of the initiative. The initial one was very successful, brought together thousands of young people into talent camps, and it is what has resulted in the talent pool that I'm so proud of to mention here. And so, yes, it's a program that is running, and I assure the House that it can only get better. Other partnerships that we have entered into, the most recent one, is with the Amazon Web Services to fully exploit the digital space, which is also going to include upgrading the Talanta Hela Digital Hub into Talanta TV for purposes of promoting content from the sporting arena and also from creatives, is going to find a very vibrant space that is also IP, intellectual property protected, within that ecosystem of the Talanta Hela Digital Hub, which is up and running. And I would welcome members, honorable members, to take time and visit the Talanta Digital Hub at the Kenya Academy of Sports at Kasarani. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Martin, you are not satisfied?
Speaker, just a quick supplementary. You talked of master plan. I was hoping that in that master plan you can pinpoint when there will be a beneficiary, and you said within the framework. That is a little bit discouraging. But Mr. Speaker, we don't also have the privilege of having those annexures he's talking about. So we don't know which ones are in the 45 and which ones are not. And lastly, last time you were here, CS, you mentioned that the Talanta Hela is on procurement. At what stage are you today?
Songuli, Joyriders, one question.
Mr. Speaker,
Could the minister has painted a very rosy picture about his efforts in promoting community talent. Could I be in order, Mr. Speaker, to ask the minister whether Narok or in particular Kilgoris, is he aware that Kilgoris has been given a blackout, yet we have been producing the highest number of talents, I think, in the region. We have the two Rudishas, we have Marai, we have many others. And Mr. Speaker, because my questions are brief, let me just ask another one. Now that if you are nurturing talent, Mr. Minister, would it be also in order, because of the whole government approach, for the government to consider athletics, for instance, as one of the qualifications, one of the possible qualifications to be recruited in the army, notwithstanding the fact that the athlete may not have gone to Form 4, because many of our athletes are talented in running, but when they go for interviews for police jobs or for the army, they do not actually get them because they do not have Form 4 certificates. Can you use the whole government approach to persuade your colleagues that this is a talent enough, competent of taking one to the armed forces?
Kirwa. One question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask this question about Athletic Kenya. There have been a huge complaints from athletes towards the organization, and a few weeks ago, the court ordered fresh elections at Athletic Kenya. I would like to hear from the minister, the CS, what is the minister doing about it? How did it happen that having the same officials for 8 consecutive years in office, and what have they done about it? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bensouda. Give her the mic. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I would like to...
Bensouda, the reason the clerks have difficulty finding you members is many of you come in without your cards. It makes it difficult for members to pinpoint where you are. Please try and be carrying your cards.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is well noted, but this side has always been a problem, though it is my sitting in this house. So I think the ICT should come with speed because this is my permanent sitting place. Thank you, the CS, for your mastery of what you're responding to, but my question, one, which I'll also add another one in conjunction very fast.
Only one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In regard to health within the sports sector, on mentoring our youths, personally, I've observed a gap. I'm talking based on the recent sports which I conducted as the MP, county MP for Homa Bay. I would like you to tell this House what plans you have in place to ensure that the health status of the players, whether under 17, under 18, 19, or 20, are taken care of in terms of facilitating, availing, and equipping mobile health clinics or first aid kits. Because I noticed that once our players are injured in the fields, the sub-county hospitals do not have adequate capacity to rush in and bring the first aid kits or the mobile clinics to take our players to the field. I think that is a gap that you need to plan for. And I know even by the time I finish this question, because you are very sharp, you already visualize the plan you have in place so that we don't have players running around people, mobilizing for funds. Some of them don't even have NHIF insurance
You are
cards.
making a speech. Ask a question.
The question, Mr. Speaker, sir, what plans do you have in place to take care of the health issues in regard to mobile clinics and first aid kits? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well done. Yegon, Brian. Richard Yegon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Also, being a member of Sports Committee, I would like to ask the Cabinet Secretary, about Bomet Stadium. During the time you visited Bomet, I understand the stadium.
That one was already asked.
No. It's a different thing. It's a different thing, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
That stadium was condemned, and I understand there was a directive that these others, there will be another new stadium to be built instead of demolishing the one which is there and constructing a new one. We are going to construct a new one. Could you kindly give us the direction on that, Cabinet Secretary? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to ask the Cabinet Secretary what the opinion or what is going to be done by the fact that there is a very big conflict of interest in Athletics Kenya. The Vice President of Athletics Kenya is also the senior partner in O Advocates, which is the lawyer for Athletics Kenya, and also the chairman of the Sports Tribunal is a partner in the same O Advocates, along with Gennaro Kibet, who is the vice president. We also have a situation where Barnaba Korir, who is a member of the AK board, is also the owner of the Continental Championships, which he controls and runs as a personal business. And this, again, you know, Cabinet Secretary, that when this gets out, chances of Kenya being banned from world athletics is extremely high. The conflict is known to the Cabinet Secretary. Could you please tell us what you'll do about it to save Kenya from being banned? Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. I just wish the Cabinet Secretary could highlight, recognizing that talent emanates or starts in primary schools and secondary schools. What efforts is the ministry doing to improve sporting facilities in both primary and secondary schools in the entire Republic of Kenya, especially in the western part of Kenya, which is the citadel of football, and we are also emerging as the force in athletics. Thank you, Speaker.
Aika.
Thank you, Speaker. I want to ask the minister whether he is aware that in Taita Taveta there's no stadium of international standard, and the one Danson Mwanyumba Stadium is in a dilapidated state, and also the Voi Moi Stadium is in a mess. What plans does the ministry have for sports stadium in Taita Taveta? Thank you.
Paulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. And my question is to the Cabinet Secretary. I come from Nandi, the source of champions, and there we do not have a modern stadium. We feel you're not visible in Nandi County. So I don't know what plans you are having for Nandi, factoring in that that is the place where many people have actually put the flag of Kenya high. I'm the member of parliament from where Kipchoge comes from, and there's really nothing much to be proud of. If people from the international if those people who have given us medals come and check and see where Kina Kipchoge come from, it's going to be an embarrassment. So I would like to know what plans you have for Nandi County and in special reference to sports academies. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to ask Minister my question. My question is on behalf of Kiambu County in Gatondo South. We have a stadium which started 7 years ago, and the people of Gatondo South, which is Karato Stadium, the people have not been paid for more than 7 years. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Martin, is Is that Timothy Kipchumba? Or you are not called Timothy?
That is my first name.
Yes.
Now, CS, could you respond to the issue that Elgeyo Marakwet County, despite being referred to as the county of champions, and having produced world beaters like Kevin Kiptum, may his soul rest in peace, that we do not have a government-funded high-altitude training center, and that all the centers, training centers, are owned by private individuals. What plans does the government have in establishing high-altitude training centers in Elgeyo Marakwet County so as to tap the talent that is in that county?
Member for Kwale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I would like to ask the CS, what plans do you have as a ministry to revive sports tourism in Kenya, and mostly Diani, where we have golf, skydive, and other sports, which can be very instrumental for the country and also for the county economy, if the right investment can be made. Does the ministry have any plans for it in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism in partnership with the coastal counties? Thank you, Mr.
Minister. Yes, Kombe. I can see you keep on raising your hand. You'll be the last on this.
Thank you,
Alice,
Mr.
your
Speaker.
neighbor has asked a question. You can wait for the answer.
Thank
From
you.
the same neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now that NGCDF does not host sports anymore, what plans does the ministry have to make sure we conduct tournaments in our respective constituencies so as to tap the talents of the young people? Thank you.
Minister, if you can answer those in under 10 minutes, I'll be very happy.
I'll try, Honorable Speaker. Very, very quickly, I'll just go one by one. There was a question on the Talanta Hela in procurement. Actually, when I first appeared in this house, I did indicate that what had delayed the takeoff of that program was procurement of certain services, like the provision of the software, and also the construction of the physical infrastructure. But that has been done, and the program is up and running. I actually welcome honorable members to the Kenya Academy of Sports to look at the hub. It is a beautiful place. The second question was about Kilgoris, and I can actually confirm to the honorable member that Munge Primary School in Kilgoris is already on our list for the special centers that we are establishing. The honorable member can confirm that. So Kilgoris is definitely within our scope. And on the question of using athletics or talent as a basis for recruitment, it is a policy that our armed forces, our disciplined forces already apply. A lot of our, in fact, most of our athletes, most of our elite athletes operate within the ecosystem of our disciplined forces. And this is something which we encourage, but I also want to confirm here that it is our policy to encourage academics to go hand in hand with the development of talent, especially completing the basic level of education. It serves our athletes well. It serves our sportsmen and women well. The third question is on Athletics Kenya elections. And this is a matter that has attracted, in fact, one of the reasons why the management or elections in Athletics Kenya has been problematic, as is the case with several other federations, has been a lot of court action. This matter is active in court. There was a court order, and the other side again ran to court and got an injunction. It's a bit of a messed space. We are reviewing the Sports Act, and we will be bringing the reviewed Sports Act to this honorable house. And one of the things we are grappling with is how to deal with the litigation and how litigation undermines or interferes with the administration of some of these federations. And some of the leaders, some of the incumbents actually sponsor litigation so that they can stay in office ad infinitum.
Disqualify them if you have evidence.
Okay. Okay, Honorable Speaker. If I have the authority of the Speaker, then I'm going to leave this House very emboldened today. On the question of health for players, this is critical, absolutely critical. We have seen very, very sad cases of even losing athletes in the course of training. We are preparing to lay to rest one of our athletes who we lost in Cameroon while on the track, while racing, doing the mountain run. And so provision of health services is critical, first aid services, mobile clinics. If this House facilitates the ministry, the Kenya Academy of Sports, Sports Kenya, to provide these services in our academies, in our stadia, would be more than happy to provide that. There is a cabinet memo we are preparing for consideration by cabinet, and one of the issues we are addressing very substantively is the issue of health and healthcare for our athletes.
In fact, Minister, there's an athlete who collapsed and died after a marathon, right?
Yeah, I've just mentioned that in Cameroon, just to amplify the fact that it is a real threat. It is something that we cannot treat lightly. There's the question from Honorable Yagon on Bomet Stadium, or the stadium in Bomet. And when we visited Bomet Stadium, it initially was the choice of the leadership of Bomet. But then it came to, we were notified that there were discussions on the possibility to pick a different venue. And we have asked the leadership of Bomet County to resolve that conversation. We are ready to proceed with this project once the leadership of the county indicates to us the preferred site. So Honorable Yagon and the leadership of Bomet, you show us the site, we will proceed with the project. The Honorable Deputy Speaker has raised the big issue of conflict of interest in Athletics Kenya. And it certainly is a big issue. But when you look at the law again, when you look at the operations of a lot of these federations, they act with impunity because of the so-called cover of parent international federations. And so you are always threatened with the excuse of third-party interference. It has happened to this country previously, especially with football. But these are issues which certainly have to be dealt with. What I can assure this House is that we have given very firm notice to the Football Kenya Federation, to Athletics Kenya, and all the federations in this country that obeying the law is not a choice. Obeying the law is an imperative, and we have noted the issue that have been raised by the Deputy Speaker, and I want to give the assurance that we certainly will be picking them up for action. On the question of sporting facilities in schools from the Honorable Member for Funyula, it is critical. The natural domicile of talents in this country is schools. That is where 99% of our talents are domiciled. It is imperative that we target schools as the primary source of the talent development pipeline. When you look at our Talanta Hela initiative, the Talanta Hela pipeline is actually anchored in schools. And that is why the school ball games, drama and film festival, music festival, all the talent processes going on in schools, the funding for that space was taken over by this ministry. Now the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports finance all those activities. We provide support to those activities, and we give the pipeline for progressing those talents through the Kenya Academy of Sports, through the Kenya Film Commission, through the National Theatre, the Kenya Film School. We have been able to join those dots, something that did not exist before. And on the question of improving facilities in schools, we have already started. The 45 centers I have mentioned here are all school-based. They are all based in schools. And they will provide the ignition, the beginning point of improving facilities in our schools to support this ecosystem of talents in our schools. Taita Taveta, we are in conversation with the Honorable Governor. We were on the phone 2 days ago, actually, discussing the situation of Taita Taveta. And he indicated to me on the phone, the Honorable Governor, that the land is actually available to do a facility in Taita Taveta, and it is something we will be progressing. We'll be progressing that conversation. The Honorable Koimburi, Karatu Stadium in Gatundu, in Kiambu County, was one of the troubled stadia, the stadia that I mentioned at the beginning, one of the stadia that we subjected to audit, one of the stadia we subjected to assessment, but the construction is now back on. The construction of Karatu is back on, and we have made it clear to the contractor that Karatu has taken too long and the construction has to be accelerated. We want Karatu to be completed, and there is also some adjustments we are planning to do to Kirigiti. We are also doing some adjustment to Kirigiti. We want to open Kirigiti to the public pretty soon, so that Kirigiti and Karatu should be able, in the meantime, to serve the people and the sportsmen and women of Kiambu County. Nandi County, I'm glad to report that we have already advertised the construction of Kipchoge Keino Stadium in Nandi. We advertised, and I believe the conclusion of the procurement should be at a very advanced stage to construct the Kipchoge Keino Stadium. And as academies go, Koitalel Samoei Academy is one of the priority academies that is in the master plan for Nandi County, in appreciation of the immense contribution that Nandi County continues to make to the sporting ecosystem of our country. The other question is from Honorable Timothy Elgeyo Marakwet. Again, I'm very happy to report that we have advertised finally the construction of Kamarin Stadium. And in our plan, Kamarin is more than just a stadium. Kamarin is both a stadium and an elite high-altitude training center, because the air around Kamarin is just in its own league. And the training, the suitability of training in Elgeyo Marakwet is on another scale. And so that is a priority project. Alongside this project, we will also be improving Iten grounds, Chepkorio grounds, and another space called Napo Primary School, no, not Napo, Chepkorio's second school, and the Kiptulu's primary school in KU South. These all is part of improving that ecosystem in that space and to honor the great contribution of Elgeyo Marakwet. Elgeyo Marakwet gave us Kelvin Kiptum, the young man we sadly lost the other day. And today we had a special ceremony to induct Kelvin Kiptum officially into the Talanta Hall of Fame in honor of his contribution. And so I can confirm that a lot is going on. The resources are limited. At this rate, this house should really consider providing this ministry with a special allocation just for infrastructure, for sports and the creatives, because as you can see, the need is immense. And at the ministry, we are delighted that there is a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement across the country about sports and the creatives. Because if we turn this into a mega industry, then we are guaranteed employment opportunities and support for livelihoods of our young people and a great portion of our population. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
We'll go to the last question, Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the...
Which one, order my Irene? Kombe? Swali gani?
Honorable Speaker, I actually do realize that I skipped 2 questions, if you'd allow me.
The member for Kwale has left, so you can leave out that.
There was a question on...
He says CDF is not allowed
yes,
to...
yes. Just making sure that we now support constituencies. And through the model we have put in place the Talanta Hela model of talent growth from the grassroots. Initially, our target has been the school ecosystem, to work through schools, through colleges. It is possible for us to sit down with honorable members and see how that can be integrated in the programs that members of parliament run at the constituency level. So that as we do constituency academies, as we do constituency athletics development centers, we can also see how sporting activities can be integrated in our broader Talanta Hela program. And on the sports tourism, we are doing very well. We work very closely with the Ministry of Tourism. We already do programs at the coast, like the Vipingo Ladies Open is by any stretch of imagination. The Vipingo LET is a sports tourism package. As we prepare for the WRC Safari Rally next week, we are working together with the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Trade. When the elite drivers arrive this weekend, their first destination is going to be the Masai Mara ecosystem, to use their presence to market the country to the world. And so sports tourism is a product that we are pushing and we are deploying to further expand the attraction of Kenya to the rest of the world. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Irene Mayaka, your question has been scratched on several times in the answers given by the Minister. So ask your question, Minister, you'll take 5 minutes on that. Question 055 of 2024. Nominated member Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my questions to the Cabinet Secretary. Number one, could the Cabinet Secretary elaborate on the policy framework guiding the provision of medical cover for sports persons in the country and measures in place to ensure that athletes are provided with medical coverage? Question number two, state if the Football Kenya Federation, FKF, and the Kenya Premier League has considered the provision of medical coverage to football players, including to advocate for the rights of the athletes to health care. I thank you.
Minister.
Honorable Speaker, let me admit that other than the normal processes we go through to provide insurance when our teams are traveling out of the country, like right now we are taking our junior, under 19 junior teams, boys and girls, to Spain at the end of this week. We have had to secure medical insurance for them. Other than those provisions and also requirements that FKF would be under through the CAF club licensing regulations. When you look at the CAF club licensing regulations, there are requirements for medical insurance and NHIF and that kind of cover for, for players. Other than that, we have really not had any robust, deliberate, intentional, structured plan to provide health insurance to our sportsmen and women. But I'm glad to report that we are working on a composite cabinet memo for the welfare of sportsmen and women. It covers a wide range of issues, from issues of pension, endowment, health insurance, issues of travel. How do our sportsmen and women travel? For instance, we are looking at the possibility of diplomatic passports in certain limited circumstances. We are looking at issues like how do we take care of these athletes when they retire, in retirement. We are looking at housing. How do we provide respectable housing, especially under the affordable housing framework to our sportsmen and women. And this cabinet memo is going to provide us with an official policy framework to finally fix some of the challenges our sportsmen and women face that have never been fixed for 60 years of our independence. I believe, Honorable Speaker, that this is going to provide this House also, because once the policy frame is ready, we have every intention to subject it to honorable members here for your input. And when it comes, please give it your input.
It as a sessional paper.
Yes. We are preparing it in the form of a white paper that could progress all the way to the House. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Irene, are you satisfied? I allow you a supplementary.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, thank you for that. I just have a very quick supplementary question, and that is just on what the CS has been able to tell us about the policy paper, which I'm hoping will be fast-tracked because we've already had situations of losing athletes and we don't know the succession or the life insurance plans for them, and I hope that is included. But to the matter relating to the medical cover for the Football Federation, I'm really curious to know if at all the ministry does take a check on the status of compliance of these particular football teams. And the reason why I ask that, and I know the CS must be aware, that we do have instances of even legendary footballers who have had injuries in their line of duty, who are currently actually being donated for money by citizens for them to be able to be taken care of. So my concern is the continuity plan of that and also the status. Are you able to have a status report on the compliance of these particular clubs to the federation regulations? Thank you.
Minister? No joyriders here. We've come to an end.
The scenario affecting our sportsmen and women has previously been really bad, we have to admit. Previously, we have never had a framework, even the rewards framework. Until this administration put in place a new rewards framework, today you know you break a world record, you know we are giving you 5 million shillings. You win a gold medal, you know you are earning yourself 3 million shillings. Now there is certainty. You know what you are competing for, you know what is available to you. We are now naming our facilities using the names of our sporting greats. We are inducting our sporting greats in a Hall of Fame. We have come a long way to provide a framework to send a strong message that Kenyan sportsmen and women are a special breed of our population. They brand this country in a manner that you cannot even quantify financially. That 2-3 minutes someone takes to win an 800-meter Olympics gold medal, that moment when the Kenyan flag is rising in a foreign arena, that moment when all the world is focused on this country, it's invaluable in monetary terms. This country has not treated our sportsmen and women well previously. This administration is changing that and changing it in a deliberate, intentional, and structured fashion. And one of those things is being reflected in the attention we are paying even to issues like pension, what happens to you when you retire, issues like housing, now issues like healthcare. As we discuss the new framework for health insurance, we are initiating discussion with the Ministry of Health to have a special product for our sportsmen and women. We don't even have capabilities in all our health facilities to provide specialized attention to some of these life-changing injuries. The tools of trade for our sportsmen and women are their body parts, their feet, their arms. And you get an injury to that body, we are basically putting you out of life because that is their life. And I can assure this House that through the policy framework we are developing, we'll even fix that enforcement that Honorable Mayaka is mentioning, making sure that those who take responsibility, including federations and other sporting organizations, meet those responsibilities. We enforce those obligations. And I'll go back to that framework because we believe what we've done well, we've done pretty well, but now having a good, solid framework will be able to solidify the interventions we are already making. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, as you leave, I want to encourage you. You've just said what I was about to say, that it is not often that our national anthem is played in as many international capitals as it is done because of our athletes. I want to encourage you, when I was your foreign minister, I anchored the role of our athletes in our foreign policy. It's cross-cutting, it's in foreign affairs, but you can also engage the Minister of Foreign Affairs to ensure that all our world beaters and our emerging athletes are provided with protocol services when they go out there. When our athlete breaks a world record, when our athlete wins a gold medal, every international media house draws interest to interview them. And some of them have either limited education or limited exposure. You should provide them with protocol services and media services that can be able to help them so that they can be able to market the country even more and even better. That's something that you should consider as a minister, and it will be a wonderful thing to do. We don't have any greater brand Kenya and marketing Kenya than our athletes. Yes?
I couldn't agree with, and my heart is dancing with joy to listen to the Honorable Speaker acknowledge something which has become a gospel for me, really, really to keep reminding ourselves and keep reminding the world that our sportsmen and women are the goose that lays the golden egg of brand Kenya. And nothing brands this country more or better than these great Kenyans. And indeed, I can confirm to you, Honorable Speaker, that that process has already started. Today, we are talking about preparation of Kenya House in Paris for the Olympics in the summer. And we have already put together a multi-agency team from this Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Trade, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to see how to curate that space as a special Kenyan space, as a space where the world can come and interact with the very best of Kenya. And we have already lined up Ferdinand Omanyalas of this world, the Faith Kipyegon, to make special appearances at Kenya House to interact with the world as part of that branding our country. And yes, protocol services are important. I want to thank our ambassadors who have already come on board through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, of course, and make special mention of someone like Ambassador Matwanga in Rome, who was on hand last weekend as Kenya swept and painted Rome, Kenya. Basically, you could have imagined that Rome was actually Kenya because the Rome marathon was swept, both boys and girls, by Kenyans, and Ambassador Matwanga was on hand to stand by these great sportsmen and women. That is what we encourage our ambassadors to do and our heads of mission across the world. And I have also been telling our athletes, and I can repeat it here, that when a foreign journalist thrusts a mic in your face and you're still panting from that race, speak the language you're most comfortable with. Watajipanga with an interpreter. And you can speak Swahili, you can speak Luhya, you can speak Kalenjin, and ordinarily they'll sort themselves out with interpretation, because really you express yourself best in your language of first instruction. And so if you are comfortable with any of these languages, nothing stops you from doing it. But I agree, Honorable Speaker, that having protocol services and having a protocol officer to support you in these moments is indispensable, and we shall follow. We shall follow through, Honorable Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister. You are released to go back to your other duties. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge a visiting delegation from Johns Hopkins School of Advanced International Studies. The delegation is in the Speaker's Gallery. It's led by Professor Sinisa Vukovic. He may stand to be acknowledged. There he is. The delegation is visiting Parliament courtesy of the Honorable George Peter Kaluma, the member for Homa Bay, and a member of the Speaker's panel is just about to take the chair. On my own behalf and that of the House, I welcome the delegation to the National Assembly of Kenya to observe the proceedings of the House this afternoon. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 12, Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable members, you may be upstanding, including those in the gallery.
Oh, we can. Are you the one taking the chair?
No, it's committee of the whole house.
Please let them announce.
Very well, honorable members, you may take your seats. We want to get to the committee of the whole house. We want to make the law now. And this time we are dealing with the statute law miscellaneous amendments, number 2 bill, National Assembly Bill, number 68 of 2023.
Provisions relating to the oaths and statutory declaration cap 15.
Order, honorable members. I hope the chairman and the leader is in the house because he'll be playing a very significant role. Very well, the leader is now in the house. We can take that again.
Provisions relating to the oaths and statutory declarations cap 15.
I propose the question that provisions relating to the oaths and statutory declarations cap 15 be amended as proposed in the bill.
Sections 3 and 12.
I propose the question that sections 3 and 12 be amended as proposed in the bill. There being no amendments in this particular provision, I put the question that sections 3 and 12 be amended as proposed in the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that provisions relating to the oaths and statutory declarations cap 15 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Provisions relating to the Advocates Act cap 16.
I